When things go wrong as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, dear viewers from around the world, to a new and exciting edition of your favorite program, Let's Talk. I'm your favorite host, Malik, and of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV. This evening, we're going to be doing part 2 of our 4-part series, A Trip with a Pilot on the Ground. And we have, of course, joining us once again, Captain Hamoud. I'm very pleased to have him. As you know from the previous, from part 1, that he has spent many years in service in the Royal Saudi Air Force, along with many years of service on Saudi Arabian Airlines. So you guys fasten your seatbelts. We're flying at 30,000 feet, and there's no turbulence. And we hope you enjoy the second trip, inshallah. Captain Hamoud, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Thank you for staying with us, and I'm really happy to be doing
My
part 2
pleasure.
with you. And also, of course, mashallah, we have the studio audience with us, and I'd like to greet you all as well. So, assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys for joining us with part 2. I hope you enjoyed part 1. I think today will be even funner, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Captain Hamoud, in part 1, I had asked you a very important question, and I wanted to keep the suspense for the viewers so they would watch this episode as well. I asked you, what is the critical stages, the most critical stages of any flight for a pilot?
Oh yeah, as I mentioned in the last episode, the last part 1 actually is the most actually critical time is takeoff and landing.
Okay.
And as I mentioned in we call it the 11 minutes or the critical 11 minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes before takeoff and 8 minutes before landing. Why? Because when you are taking off, you as a captain and also all the crew in the cockpit, they should anticipate any emergency could take place. And when the airplane is flying in just first trip, especially the first trip, usually 90% the airplane is full weight, maximum weight. Passengers, luggage, fuel, and the weight of the airplane. So the captain and whoever flying, they will have to be very careful when he's just taking off for 3 minutes.
Okay.
Because anything could happen. Why? Because if he lose an engine, let's say he have engine failure, just while he's taking off, or he have engine fire. Okay, this is actually the worst thing. This is the worst thing could happen. In this case, the one who's flying the airplane must continue fly the airplane.
Okay.
And the other guy who's not flying then take care of the emergency checklist. But there are some checklists, you can read it, you have time. But there are some checklists, they're emergency like engine failure, engine fire. This have to be memorized by heart.
There's no time to read it.
No time to read the book, or read the checklist. So there are some emergency, you must memorize it by heart.
Okay.
Like this one, engine failure, engine.
But Captain, that can happen at any time, not just at takeoff.
Yes, I know. But you ask me what is the most critical time.
Okay.
Yeah. This could happen here. But that's why the reason I say this very critical, because usually when you are taking off, especially the first trip, or sometimes second trip, because when you go to second destination, you're going to refuel again.
Right.
So usually the airplane is heavy when it's taking off.
I see.
Usually. So that's why it's a critical until for 3 minutes. And then if anything happened during this time, all the crew have to be vigilant.
Right.
They have to be careful. They have to be, as I said, you need more than 5 cents.
Right.
You have to concentrate. But somebody has to fly the airplane.
Right.
And somebody take care of this. At least until you reach a safe altitude, which is about 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet, then that time you can relax, and then you can, ask. But there are some emergency have to be done. There are some checklists, there are some action.
Right.
So the pilot who's flying, he will tell the pilot, okay, check. He will tell you which engine, maybe right engine, left engine, okay. Right. Then he said, do that, do this, do this. And the co-pilot or the first officer must respond, done, okay, checklist, done. While they're flying, somebody has to, because if all the crew got busy in the emergency,
who's flying the plane?
Who's flying the airplane? And the airplane and it did, by the way. There are some accidents took place along the Mako because the whole crew, all of them got busy in the emergency, even the captain who was flying, and the airplane crashed. So that's why it is a very critical time. And the other critical time is when you're coming to land.
Okay.
Again, even the airplane is of course lighter because it's lighter, but still you are close to the ground.
Right.
So you have to be careful for 8 minutes. From the time you are exactly final approach, I call final approach means you are almost coming to land. You see the runway and you are coming final approach. Then this is the last 8 minutes. Again, it is also, as I said, even it is the most, favorite time for a pilot and the most happier time, still it's a critical. So 3 minutes before, after takeoff, and 8 minutes you have to be careful because you are coming closer. Your speed is low here.
Right.
Your speed is low.
Right.
And anything. Also, there is something else. There is a type of wind.
Right.
Which is this, I call it the enemy of pilots, the enemy of aviation.
Right.
You call it wind shear.
Okay.
What happened? Because this, if you counter, wind shear, and you close the ground and you aren't ready, you may crash.
What is wind shear?
Oh, the wind shear is a sudden wind, a very strong wind, come and maybe cut your left. It will affect your left.
Okay.
And you cannot detect it,
right, you
with your eyes.
Okay.
Even now, lately they put some the detected system in some airport.
Okay.
But it's not going to give you 100%.
Okay.
Because it did happen many times, I know that airplane crashed just during landing.
Right.
Because of this wind shear. That's
Okay.
why the pilot have to be very vigilant and be careful, and he have to concentrate on, and the last 8 minutes must be manual.
Okay.
It should be manual because anything happens, unless, even it could be, fly with the autopilot.
Okay.
But it's better the last 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Manual.
You should disconnect and he should fly the airplane with his hand. And
Right.
usually the pilots, when they are almost approaching the landing, the
runway.
they just take care of manual.
Okay.
And but this is actually even as I say, the most,
Dangerous.
this time at the same time is the most critical.
It's the most
11 and 3 minutes after takeoff and 8 minutes before landing.
So the most critical time is also the most enjoyable time.
It's the most enjoyable
That's
time.
funny.
And it's
Okay.
actually the most happier time for any pilot.
What is more difficult, the landing or the takeoff? Or you would say they're different?
No, actually, I would say not difficult. I would say the most critical is taking off,
Okay.
Because usually, as I said, the airplane is very heavy,
Right.
so you have to be careful during
Okay.
takeoff. Very important.
And even during the takeoff, when you reach a certain point, you have to take off, even if there's an emergency, right? Because if your speed is so fast and there's no more runway.
Okay, yeah, this is what I mentioned last time, During takeoff, once the airplane is rolling on the runway,
Right.
as I mentioned last time, there is two speed.
Right.
The one non-flying must tell the one who's flying. He will be watching the instrument, especially the speedometer.
Right.
The speedometer is the one showing your speed.
Okay.
Then if there is a speed and it varies, because
Right.
sometimes your speed could be, let's say, I give it just for the race, the sake of example.
Okay.
Maybe your taking off speed this time of your weight is, let's say, I said 125 knots.
Okay.
Next time could be 130 because of the weight.
Oh, it
so
varies.
the co-pilot or the one who's not flying, let me
Right.
say that, the one who's not flying is the one should keep an eye on speedometer and
Okay.
also other instrument. Then he said they call it, the first speed they call it V1.
Okay.
And then the second speed is V2.
Okay.
And then after reaching V2, you must take off. No
Okay.
time to abort. They call it abort.
You can't because you're
You
going too
cannot
fast.
abort because no remaining. Even if you have emergency, you should continue and then take care of emergency and then come back to land.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah.
Yeah. This is actually very important. This is one of the, again, this is also one of the critical
times. Okay, Captain Hood, let's assume that now, alhamdulillah, inshallah, we had a safe takeoff. In all these international airports, there's many planes coming in and landing. So how do you avoid crashing with airplanes once you're airborne?
Exactly. It's the same like as I told you, that you cannot start the airplane without permission.
Right, right.
Once you are actually approaching the airport, or even after you are actually cruising, you're still under control.
Okay.
It's not up to you. So actually, once you approach the airplane, if you're talking about approaching the airport, you are under control.
Okay.
And you cannot descend as you like.
Right.
You cannot, go down. Usually, if you are cruising, let's say, at 33,000 feet, and you want to descend, you must call controller on ground asking permission.
Okay.
And then they will not give you immediately, a very low altitude. They will give you, they may give you, okay, you are 33,000, okay, you are, now you can
Gradual descent.
Gradual. Maybe they give you 20,000.
Right.
And then after a minute they will call you, go 15,000, here you go, until it's not up to you. And also direction. your heading, your
Right.
direction, also controlled by the controller.
Okay,
You
the
know,
whole time.
They will. That's why will not avoid. But sometimes, because of misunderstanding, because of language barrier,
Every once
it
in a
did
while.
happen.
Yeah,
It did happen. Airplane crashes. Because of language barrier or human error.
Right, of
I
course.
can assure you, that most of the airplane accident, 90% is human error,
Okay, right, of
not
course.
not mechanical.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember on a TWA flight one time I took many years ago, I saw another airplane in the window. So once in a while you do see
Yeah.
other planes in transit.
Yes,
Oh,
no
you
problem,
will-
because maybe they have more runway. They maybe have, runway number 1,
Okay, yeah.
number 2, 3 runway. And you can see the airplane going to, let's say, they're going to runway on the right.
Right, right.
Okay, I'll take the runway in the middle. The other one take, especially in busy airport like JF Kennedy,
of course, yeah.
say like London, places
Okay.
like this, they have more than airport. More than runway.
Right, of
So
course.
you may see the airplane,
Yeah, of course.
you know.
Captain Hamoud, several years ago there was an incident in New York City, and the captain took off and everything was fine, and one of the engines failed or something, and he landed his plane in the Hudson River. Do you remember that story?
Yes, I saw
Can
that.
you talk to us just a little bit about that?
Well, they were lucky. They were
were lu-
fortunate
oh,
because
okay.
the river was shallow.
Okay.
That's why the airplane, did not sink.
Otherwise it would sink, like in
Yeah,
the
of
ocean
course,
or something.
Of course, Well, maybe you'll talk about this later about what you call ditching,
Okay, inshallah, okay.
But, in this particular case, the reason the airplane did not sink,
Right.
because the river was very shallow.
Okay.
And even, maybe you saw the picture or
Yeah.
you saw it in TV,
Yeah.
how the airplane is still floating.
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
amazing. They were
because
standing on the wings.
the river
yeah.
was very shallow and they made it.
Okay.
But
Now-
if the river or if it was an ocean
Forget about
and
it.
the airplane fall down,
It's
you go at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Something
the bottom.
How many engines are in these commercial airlines, for example, that you were flying on Saudi Arabian Airlines? I mean, there's more than one engine, right?
Not only Saudi Arabian Airlines, any airline, you see, there are 2 engine,
Okay.
and 3 engine, and 4 engine.
And they're all working simultaneously or one at a time?
No, you mean while you're flying?
Yeah.
No, they're working on all simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
The engine?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they should be running.
Okay.
Well, when you start the engine on ground, you start first one and then the other one.
Right.
And then number 3 if there are 3. But
Okay.
once you are airborne, they should be running.
Okay.
But, let me explain something else, just give you some information.
Okay.
That concerning the crew.
Okay, excellent.
See, any airplane more than 2 engine must have captain, co-pilot, and flight engineer.
Okay.
You see, any airplane more than like 3 engine airplane
Right.
and 4 engine airplane
Okay.
must have flight engineer.
Okay.
But 2 engine and less, usually only pilot and co-pilot.
Why is that necessary? Because there's more of a workload?
More in responsibility, more instrument,
Right, right.
more actually obligation.
Right.
So to say, to make the responsibility less on the captain, less on the so
Yeah.
everybody in this case has his own responsibility.
I see.
Usually in 3 airplane, 3 engine, not only at front of you, not on the top view, there is also on the side some instrument. It is the
yeah.
responsibility of the flight engineer.
Oh, okay,
you know.
okay.
Sometimes they have a navigator also.
Of
In
course.
some airplane they have 4 crew.
Oh, okay.
Because just to minimize the responsibility on each person.
Yeah, good division of
And you
labor.
need it because it's like 4 engine airplane.
It's too much, yeah. Too much
That's-
work.
So this is what decide the cockpit crew is
Right.
the number of engine.
Oh, okay,
The
excellent.
number of engine.
What if you're over the Atlantic, for example, on a 3 or 4 engine airplane and one engine fails? What would you do?
One engine fell, because it depends on the weight.
Oh, okay.
The airplane can fly, can continue flying with 3 engine because it's
Okay.
designed this way.
Okay.
But if you mean, what about if the whole engine failure?
Right.
What is the pilot going to do in the ocean?
Yeah, what's going to happen?
There's another, what you call ditching.
Okay.
But this is very rare.
This is very
In
rare,
history
yeah.
of aviation, according to my knowledge,
Right.
maybe I'm wrong, but according to my knowledge, I think only 2-3 times the airplane
Yeah,
ditch.
It's rare, yeah. You're
And
right.
there is a
That you-
training for that, by the way. If
There's
you
a whole
want to talk
training.
about it, there's a special training for the crew and for the cabin attendants. There is a special training for ditching.
Oh, okay.
If you fly over the ocean, like you're going, to United States or going, especially over the ocean, there is no
Okay.
airport on the
Of
the
course,
ocean.
yeah.
So all crew are trained, cabin attendants and cockpit are well trained just in case of ditching.
Okay.
And usually, if the captain find himself forced to ditch, he is well trained. But there are some technique, for
Okay.
ditching. You gotta, see the wind, you see the waves, where they're going.
Right.
Okay, and
Okay.
also you have to prepare the passenger, to prepare this.
Right.
But I don't. Ditching is. I can assure you, ditching is not going to be 100%, successful.
What is the
But
percentage?
there is time for the people because the captain will tell the cabin crew to prepare themselves.
Yeah.
To stand, to wear the life jacket, prepare
yeah.
before touching the the ocean, and he have also to fly and see. He have to, when he approaching there, he have to see the waves. He have to see the wind.
Yeah, right.
And I hope it work. Sometimes it doesn't. But in my to my knowledge, airplane, in history, in aviation history, maybe about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, like you said in part one, I mean, we experience more accidents on the highways in any country than we usually hear about these rare occurrences. Captain, let's talk about the oxygen in the airplane. What role does it play as far as
I see. Well, you see, anytime you are above, 14,000 feet,
okay,
you need oxygen, even if you are on a mountain.
Okay.
So you remember those probably climbing the
Everest, for example. Yeah,
they need oxygen.
Yeah.
Because every time you go higher, the less the oxygen is there, but the pressure get less. That's why the molecules, the air is not coming to your nose.
Right.
You cannot inhale. Otherwise, so airplanes are designed, to have another system. They have oil system, fuel system,
okay,
and they have what you call pressurization system.
Right.
The pressurization system is to keep the cockpit and to keep the whole airplane.
Right.
Is very convenient and suitable for the passenger. I'll give you an example. If you're flying if you're flying 35,000 feet,
right,
the airplane will be like you are sitting on the top of a mountain, is about 4,000 or 5,000 feet.
Okay, and actually, Captain, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's go to a short break, and I want you to continue in that topic, inshallah. You guys stay tuned for more with Captain Hamoud.
Exactly.
The aim of the show is to really focus and gain a grasp of those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and those things which will gain for us the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will make us amongst those who are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there any evidence from the Quran that shows that those who repent are beloved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happier, is more happier with the repentance of his slave than you if you came across your camel after you lost it in a white open lost. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable us to reach into a status wherewith or in which we will taste the beauty of Iman.
We would like to be amongst those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves.
Indeed, you will see your Lord as you see this moon, without having any harm in seeing it alone.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to part 2 of our 4-part series, A Trip with the Pilot on the Ground with Captain Hamoud. And Captain Hamoud, last segment we were talking about oxygen in the airplane. What more can you say about that?
Alhamdulillah. First of all, let me really seize the chance here and mention something about oxygen which is mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ma'idah. And also this is show us the miracle of the Quran, and also that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a real prophet and a messenger. Because he didn't, how did Muhammad ﷺ knew about this, about oxygen, and he was illiterate, and he was a Bedouin, he was a shepherd. This is another miracle to prove that Muhammad ﷺ is a messenger of Allah. As the ayah, Surah Al-Ma'idah, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ الْإِسْلَامِ. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to guide somebody, He will guide him and direct him to Islam. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أن يضل يجعل صدره ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء. And whoever Allah decide to misguide him, He will make his chest so tight like if he's climbing on the sky. This ayah show us that anybody going higher, you need oxygen. And this is another miracle for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Excellent point.
So the higher you go, especially whenever you pass 14,000 feet and above, you need oxygen.
Okay.
So the oxygen there actually, just in case, if, as I mean, just in case the airplane lose pressurization.
Okay.
So the pressurization actually keep the airplane, from the cockpit all the way to the passenger, like, to make it convenient for them to inhale oxygen easily.
Okay.
So let me give an example. If the airplane is about 35,000 feet, the cabin, the cockpit and the cabin, of the passenger, they feel like they are sitting on about 6,000 feet, on a mountain.
Okay.
Now, if this pressurization, like, happen rapid decompression, because, a window broke, a door was open, this pressurization will go out very, very fast.
This is a huge
and
emergency.
if a baby or even a person, if the window is so big and that, pressurization, go through that window, if the man is not, or the person is not really fastening his belt, he may go through that window.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why you notice, the cabin attendants say, we advise you, even you're seated, keep the the seat belt.
Yeah,
fastened.
that always says that, right?
Well, not only for the person, no, just in case of turbulence.
Yeah.
So actually, this is what happened now when the pressurization, completely lost in the airplane.
Right.
Above there is a small, cabinet, small fuel. When the pressurization reach in the cabin, go up to about 10,000 to 10,500, this oxygen will automatically drop on you.
Oh, okay.
When the cabin pressurization is reached, because usually it should be 6,000, 7,000.
Okay.
But now, because of pressurization completely, have a completely, out of the window, or actually have a rapid decompression,
right.
The airplane cabinet could reach up to 10,500 maybe. When it reach exactly, and this is the captain will see it in his cockpit.
Of course, okay.
Yeah. Then the oxygen will drop automatically.
Okay.
So that's why you have to grab it and then help yourself. If you have a baby, you have to help yourself,
Right.
because the baby, subhanallah, the baby have more time than the
Is that
adult.
right? Wow.
Yeah, that's why they said help yourself and then the baby.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now you want to put oxygen, of course, then you are inhaling regular and nothing's going to happen. But but if the airplane is 35,000 feet,
right,
or more,
right,
and then the oxygen did not drop, okay, then you have only 4 to 6 minutes before you get brain damage.
I mean, that's it. That's
Yeah.
not a lot of time.
That's why the pilot, in case of rapid decompression, he must descend as fast as possible.
Okay.
He may go dive the airplane up to 6,000 to 7,000 feet per minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then when he reaches safe altitude, then you can take the oxygen.
Oh,
So this is the purpose of the oxygen, just to protect you from, go unconscious or losing your brain damage, just in case of decompression.
Thank you, Captain. Thank
Sure.
you so much. I think we have some questions from the studio audience. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're from, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Asmir and I'm from Bosnia.
Thank you.
Firstly, salam alaikum to our studio guest.
Salam.
Do you know where is the biggest airport in the world, or where is the busiest airport in the world?
Okay, thank you.
I heard a lot of things about that, but I want to be sure
Well,
about
there
that.
are many, you cannot say the biggest. There are many big airports, many large airports, and the busiest also, concerning busy, like if you take JFK, they said about, 20 to 30 flights in 1 minute, taking off and landings in 1 minute. If you take Charles de Gaulle in France, same is busy. If you take in Chicago, also busy, This is, there are many, my brother, especially later, because now people more flying, more people, now the population of the whole world, reaching 7 million.
Yeah, of course.
I think you saw this, the baby who was making 7 million, they show him, So the people getting more, airplane getting more, airport is getting bigger. So you cannot say the biggest, because but the busiest, this is, I'll give you just 3 examples, JFK Kennedy, JFK Airport,
City, right.
Chicago here also,
Okay.
Charles de Gaulle.
Which is in Paris, right, Charles de Gaulle?
We in Saudi Arabia during Hajj also.
Is the busiest.
Yeah. We got very busy during Hajj.
In Jeddah?
In Jeddah, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very busy during Hajj. Very busy.
Yeah, okay, subhanAllah. Must be, I can imagine, has to have more flights.
Oh, you talk about 3 million they coming from Hajj.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Captain Hamoud, I'm enjoying this valuable information. I feel like the co-pilot. I feel like the co-captain.
Well, go ahead. You can relate what's flying.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about the job, the specific job of the captain, the co-captain, or the first officer and the flight engineer? What exactly are they doing differently, and how are they working together?
No, well, see, the captain is in charge of the airplane.
Okay.
But flying the airplane is, as the captain fly, also the co-pilot can fly. But,
Okay.
you know, and the same instrument at the front of the captain is there, the same instrument, you know, double instrument. The
Okay.
same, exactly,
Oh,
I would
I
call
see.
identical.
Yeah, okay.
The same, you know, instrument at the captain is the same instrument at front of the first
Right.
officer. The flight engineer is different. No,
Okay.
the flight engineer responsibility is different from the captain and the co-pilot.
Okay.
Flight engineer deal with the fuel, deal with the, you know, oil pressure, you
technical
know,
stuff.
pressurization. Yeah, this is his job also.
Okay.
And he may have some instrument at the top of him, maybe have instrument to the right.
Okay.
You know. But, you know, their main job, of course, is to fly the airplane safely
Right.
and to take care of it, you know, safely to reach from A to B. This is actually,
Right.
the co-pilot, you know, is there to be captain.
But he's not
He's-
your equal. You are in charge of him.
Of course.
And he has less experience than you. Or not
That's
necessarily-
right.
Oh, okay,
yes.
right.
Yeah, from experience point of view, of course, the captain, as I told you, you know, in the last episode, you know, that, you know, the first officer need minimum of 4,000 hours to be captain.
Yeah.
So this captain now, he already passed 4,000
Yeah.
hours. So usually he has more experience and also more responsible. And of course, if, you know, he's in charge of the airplane, of course,
Right.
he has more authority than the first officer and the flight engineer.
What about the flight attendants? Are they related to you in any way? Are you not dealing with them at all or interacting
No,
with
we
them?
are, of course.
Oh, you are, of course.
Of
Okay.
course, you know. Flight attendants, you know, let me clarify, by the way, I'm very glad you're asking this question. Let me clarify and make something clear to the, you know, to the audience and also to our dear viewers, you know. Many people think the main job of the stewardess and the, you know, hostesses just to serve coffee and tea.
Yeah, right.
And I want to clarify, this is absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Their main job is to save the passenger in case of emergency.
Oh, wow.
So believe it or not, the cabin attendants are well trained for emergency to open the door. I mean, in case after the ground, of course.
Yeah, of course.
How to save the passenger. Not only that, some of stewardesses are well trained even to help a woman if she delivers. Case of
Oh, is
delivery.
that right?
Yes.
So the passenger should be more thankful to the stewardess
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
we will depend on them.
I want really to know that, you know, pilots and cabin attendants are completing each other. You know, they are really, I would say it's two faces for one coin.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Captain.
Yeah.
Hood. I think we have another question from the studio audience.
Yes, I just want to say my name, I'm Yusuf Javic, I'm from Bosnia. The second, I want to say salam all to all viewers, to our
Alaikum
guests, and especially to our guest, to main guest,
Okay, inshallah. Thank you,
the Captain Hamoud, to thank him and you about for this say a great nice conversation.
Thank you.
And to ask, I'm somewhat hungry, so I can ask about food. I know I was like a passenger in a plane, so I know what we are eating. But what are eating the stewardess and stewards and
Okay.
the pilot and co-pilot are eating the same food at the same time?
Yeah.
Just this information about food.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And drink.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no, the captain will eat camel and the pilot caught fish. No, they can eat the same. But, you know, and just, you know, from safety point of view, usually the captain should eat different dish than the co-pilot, just in case, just to make sure, you know, because usually if they eat the same, you know, this is only safety factor.
Okay.
Only safety factor. You know, they said if you eat meat, okay, and our co-pilot will eat fish. If you eat, you know, just in case, if something, just in case, you know, to make sure that if that, you know, dish was, you know, eaten by the captain has something.
The passengers have the different dish from the co-pilot, from the. They
No.
all have the different dishes.
The passenger?
The passengers.
No, we talk about captain and co-pilot. You ask me about this. No, the passenger, of course, they have their choices, whatever they want.
Oh, okay.
But you ask me, first of all, yes, they can eat while they're flying. The crew in the cockpit, they can leave, you know, if he wants to go to the toilet, he can go. Because somebody have to be there.
Of course.
You know, either if the captain leaves, the co-pilot should be there. If the opposite, you know, somebody have to, they can eat, they can drink, you know. But the thing I mentioned before, usually, you know, the captain will be served different food from the
I
co-pilot,
see.
just safety factor.
Okay, I see.
It's not a regulation, but the safety factor. If, you know, let's say the co-pilot had, you know, stomach ache or poison, you know, at least not both of them will have
Yeah,
poison.
that's a good point.
At least one is safe, you know. That's the only reason.
So,
I hope I answered your question.
thank you. Captain Hu, after we said there was 11 critical minutes, the 3 minutes of takeoff and the 8 minutes of landing, In between, are you just relaxing and putting it on autopilot, so to speak, and drinking coffee and things like that? Or
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you're not actually flying the plane with your hand on the instrument for the whole flight.
Yes, that's why. That's, I said, we have, if imagine, a flight from, let's say from Cairo, okay, to New York.
Okay.
How do you expect, the pilot to be flying airplane all the time, all the time for 11 hours or 12 hours?
Yeah.
Yes, they have. You have the co-pilot, and we have also the other system. Not only the co-pilot, we have you call the GPS, and also we have the inertial system,
right.
and we have many systems helping them. Only during takeoff and landing you should use your hand.
And
once you cruise, even before cruise, most of the pilots, once they reach 15,000 feet, above sea level, 15,000 feet, they just hook the co-pilot, and the airplane just continue, fly by itself.
Yeah.
Then he will, we have system in the airplane. We insert our altitude, the cruising, and the airplane by itself is going to cruise by itself.
Yeah,
and even going from A to B. I'll give you an example. If a flight leaving Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, all the way to New York, the airplane will be just going by itself unless the ETC, the controller, ask him to change his altitude or change direction for aviation safety.
Then you take over manually.
No. No. I said, the airplane will go follow, because we have a system. We can put the coordinates. We can put the coordinates from Jeddah all the way to New York or to Manila or to anywhere. I can put the coordinates, then hook it to the airplane, the airplane. The airplane fly itself, go left, right, all the time until we reach destination. So during cruise, no, we just relax. But still, we have to keep an eye on the airplane. We have to listen to the ETC.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, though, you would never both leave the cockpit at the same time or sleep at the same time.
Of course.
It's always one or the other.
Yes, safety from safety point of view.
Okay, yeah.
But you can't leave. One of them has to be
stay,
there.
of course.
No.
Okay, thank you, Captain. Do we have any more questions from the studio audience?
Yes, we have.
Go ahead. What's your name, brother, and where are you from?
My name is Adis. I'm from Bosnia.
And how was your flight from Bosnia?
Yeah,
Thank you. Go ahead,
great. The captain was talking about emergency. I would like to ask him, how much time do passengers have in case of emergency?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much.
You mean evacuation? In case of evacuation?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's a very good question. See, each airplane, has doors, of course. And how many doors in the airplane decide how many crew in the airplane, especially cabin attendants.
Oh, okay.
Because let's take 747. They have 4 doors in the right and 4 doors in the left.
Okay, this is the biggest passenger plane.
Yeah, so usually minimum crew in 747 is about 12 to 14 sometimes.
Minimum, okay.
Yeah. So in the evacuation, with these 4 doors, should not take more than 1 minute 30 seconds, maximum.
Wow.
Should be.
Okay.
So maximum 1 minute 30 seconds, because once the airplane touch the ground and the captain give the command, to evacuate, each of them must open the door. And once you open the door of the airplane, there is what you call a trigger.
Right.
The slide, the one you slide, once he opened the door, there's a trigger. He will pull the trigger, and then the floating pot, or actually the
raft.
Inflate the raft.
Yeah.
The raft will inflate immediately, and then it will become sliding.
Okay.
In case of ditching, remember, it will be both, but in this case, it will be sliding.
Okay.
So each one of the cabin attendants must open the door as soon as possible, and then, that's why I said, how many, if the airplane is big and they have many passengers, must have more door. So for example, for 7, a small airplane like MD-90 or 737, usually only 4 doors.
Okay.
So how many doors in the airplane and how many passengers is decided, usually it should not take 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then all passengers should be out.
Okay. Captain, why do we always hear that ding, and the woman says, or the attendant will say, in case of depressurization, stuff like that. What does that mean, depressurization?
I think I mentioned for this, when you lose the pressurization in the airplane, when this is, he will, as I told you, this is, they explain to you how to use oxygen.
Oh, that's right.
Because the only time you use oxygen, as I mentioned before, is during, in case of depressurization. The pressurization, that's mean losing the pressurization in the airplane, which make it convenient to the passenger.
Oh, I see,
you know,
that's right.
And they can inhale oxygen.
Okay.
If they lose this, then they need oxygen.
Okay, thank you, Captain Hamoud. And stay with us. We have one more segment for this episode. You guys don't go anywhere at home. I hope you're enjoying part 2 of our 4-part series, A Trip with the Pilot on the Ground with Captain Hamoud. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, you guys, to part 2 of our 4-part series, A Trip with the Pilot on the Ground. You guys can undo your seatbelts, relax. We're not experiencing any turbulence. We have Captain Hamoud guiding us through the program. Captain Hamoud, thank you for being with us today. I'm having a really a fun time with you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I think we have some questions from the studio audience, you guys.
My name is Manar Abdelaziz. I am Egyptian.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I have a question for Captain Hamoud.
Oh, go ahead.
Please.
What's the passenger do during emergency cases? If they are jumping from the flight,
what should they do? Okay. Thank you.
It depends, alhamdulillah. It depends on from emergency to emergency. Usually, of course, you know, the one who really guide the passenger what to do are the cabin attendants. You know, they tell them in case of emergency. And it varies from emergency. Let's say, in case of emergency, you know, of evacuating the airplane. So before the airplane touches the ground, the flight attendant, they supposed to brief, they must brief the passenger what to do, okay? And especially in case of crashes, usually they will tell them, you know, to put, you know, their head, and they should be bound, should not stand all the time in the seat, because in case of crash, he may hit. So they tell them to sit in a certain position, you know, usually like this, under that. It depends on emergency. In case of smoke, you know, in the airplane, it's another procedure. In case of ditching, you know, floating on the floor, is another. So usually the passenger cannot do his own. You know, he will be directed, he will be, you know, told by the cabin attendant what to do. But it varies from emergency to emergency.
What are the most dangerous emergencies, Captain? Maybe the top 3 most dangerous emergencies?
It's when you have fire.
Number 1 is fire.
And smoke.
And
sometimes smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoke can kill also.
Have you experienced that before on a flight?
I did, but not really much for not much smoke.
Yeah.
But fire I did, you know. This is when I was a cadet in the
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I had fire I was flying an airplane. It's a British airplane. They call it Jet Profis.
Okay.
And it's only, you know, 2 seats for me, but at that time I was solo. I was by myself.
Oh, okay.
So I was flying on the training area, which is south of Riyadh.
Okay.
And I was about, you know, 30,000 feet. And suddenly I have this, you know, bell. You know, when it's fire, you hear very warning.
Right.
Then I reduced my speed, but the bell was still ringing.
Oh.
So I knew it's for you know, fire. So
okay.
you know, I came back. So I called another airplane. It was an instructor with his cadets.
Oh.
So I asked him. I said, please, can you come back, you know, in my back and see if there is fire?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he did. And he said, no, there is no fire, but I think you have false indicate, but take it as serious, he told me.
Right.
So I came back, you know, with no engine. I was gliding, but alhamdulillah, that day I have, you know, enough altitude. I came to overhead Riyadh from the south area, south of Riyadh, which you call it, you know, training area.
Okay.
In Al Kharj Road. So I came, alhamdulillah, over Riyadh with 5,000 feet, which is exactly 3,000 feet above. Because Riyadh is 2,000 feet above sea level, Riyadh itself.
Oh, okay.
So I came 5,000, so with 3,000 feet, you know.
Oh, okay.
Alhamdulillah, so I managed, I landed, alhamdulillah.
SubhanAllah. I think flying really teaches us to really, truly rely on Allah when we're in the air. Yeah.
Of course.
It's a great point.
You know, actually, we have to praise Allah for this machine. Right. Imagine this machine with 400 passengers, you know, fly, you know, in the... Who's controlling it? Who's holding it? Right. Except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain. Do we have any more questions from the studio?
Yes, we have. I have another more question.
Go ahead.
I'm always asking myself, I travel a couple of times, especially from Cairo to Bosnia.
Okay.
And I'm always asking myself what is happening with the luggage. I know that you have one section for the luggage in that section, do you have like same pressure, same temperature,
Right.
same conditions? Are the luggage safe or something like this?
Right, good. Thank you for that excellent question.
Yes, the luggage cabinet is almost, they're having the same, because sometimes, brother, they have animals, like, with my respect to you, and to the audience and the viewers, dogs. People have their own dogs and they put it in a small,
Box.
casket,
Yeah.
and they put, so the cabin, the luggage cabin is also have the same pressurization like they have in the airplane, and but it's kind of cold, so
It's
don't
cold in
think
there.
to fly in the cabin
What
one
if
day. Very cold.
Maybe if the ticket's cheaper, we'll go in the luggage.
Yeah, but there is, for also remember, even for where the location would they put animals would be much, of course, than it will be much better in temperature than the luggage, because these animal, if the animal die, the airline have to pay for the passenger.
Yeah. Oh.
Absolutely. Yeah, of
I
course.
see.
So they put him in a safe place, like exactly, and the passenger the same cabinet pressure. He will have the same pressure because also he need oxygen.
Oh, excellent.
So illegal traveling is like dangerous for because of cold. Like something like maybe one guy accidentally maybe enter the luggage. Is this possible?
I think he will die because he will not find that.
will
If
die.
he doesn't fly, oxygen problem and also freezing point.
Oh, okay.
Sometime, brother, sometime it reach minus 50.
Oh,
it
my
reached
goodness,
minus
yeah.
50, at 37,000
Oh,
feet.
of course, yeah.
Especially during winter. It reached minus 50, sometime more than that.
Thank you.
So a human being cannot stand that.
Captain Hamoud, I wanted to ask you also, do you have a different set of procedures for flying over land and flying over the ocean, or you just continue the same?
Very good. Oh yeah, of course. Flying over land is more safer than flying over ocean, because on land, if you encounter emergency, you can just go to the nearest airport.
No problem, inshallah.
But over ocean, especially going to United States, over the Atlantic Ocean, it's not really dangerous, but you got to be more careful. You have to calculate your distance. In going to international flight over ocean, there is a point. All pilots must know it before he take off. We call it non-return point.
Oh, okay. It sounds scary. What does it
No,
mean?
not scary, but he must know it. Because this non-return point over the ocean, the reason he's doing this, because in the ocean, no airport.
Yeah.
So he must know this. Once he reached this point, non-return point, he must continue. He cannot go back.
Oh, there's no way. Okay.
Yeah, once he reached this, he have to continue.
Okay.
So flying over the ocean, you have to be careful studying the weather.
Okay.
The weather at 5,000 feet, the weather at 10,000 feet, the weather at 15, and here you go. And he take this information from, he go to the weather section,
Okay.
go to operation. Usually, especially any flight, by the way, the crew, especially the pilots, must go to operation before he go to the airplane.
Right.
They give him information about weather. They give him his flight plan.
Of course.
He take information. But crossing the ocean, you need more information about weather, about wind, because
Right.
sometimes I remember, this is not when I fly Saudi Airline. When I was flying with the Saudi Air Force, the Hercules C-130, once we left Shannon in Ireland.
In Ireland, okay.
Yeah, in Ireland. After we left Shannon, we was cruising about 26,000 feet. And suddenly I looked at my speed, and my speed, very low. Then I check also, I calculated, suddenly I have a headwind. So I make sure, then I make my calculation, and I came to know that no way I will make it. I was going to the United States.
Okay.
Then I know, because my speed was very low, and the headwind was very strong. So what I did, I just came back. I went back to Shannon.
So if you weren't paying attention to that, that could have been a grave emergency, right?
You have to be very careful. That's what they say. They said crossing the ocean is not even different from crossing any sea.
Okay.
Because the ocean, especially Atlantic, is very long.
Yeah, of course.
The minimum, even 747, it will be flying over the ocean from 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Before he reach destination.
Yeah, of course.
So flying over the ocean, you need really more, to be more vigilant
careful.
and more careful.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Captain Hamoud, when you're flying the airplane, are you in control of the communication with the ground, or do you give that responsibility to the co-pilot, or?
Usually the non-flying pilot take care of communication.
Okay.
The non-flying, usually, you know.
And
But, you know, sometime, you know, because, you know, as I told you before, the captain has more authority and he's in charge and he's more responsible.
Right.
Sometime, you know, if the captain you know, even if he's flying the airplane and the co-pilot's supposed to take care of ATC,
Right.
sometime the captain, if he need, you know, to interfere or to take over,
He will, right.
take over because it is in his neck.
Okay, yeah, of
Absolutely.
course. And as we said earlier, the international language of aviation is English.
Absolutely.
So even on an international domestic flight in Saudi Arabia, you'll be speaking with the ground
English.
in English.
Yes.
Unless for a minute or two you can break into your native
Yeah.
language, but okay.
Well, I want to say something, you know. If you don't know English, you know, and you may take off and you cannot land.
That's
So
funny.
you have to communicate. I'm
Okay.
just joking. English is the aviation language all over the
Okay.
world. But, you know, in Saudi Arabia, not only Saudi Arabia, even in many countries, the citizen themselves, the pilot, you know, if he's from this country, he
Right.
can communicate
No
with the
problem.
tower, with the sea, but it should not take long. You know, he should not read because you may confuse other airplanes.
Yeah, you want to
You know,
minimize
you
that.
should stick to the international language. But if you need to speak, you know, to the tower, like for instance, this sometime you are flying and you have VIP, you know, like VIP, very important person
Yeah,
with you.
right.
You know, you can. I did this many times. I called the tower and I told him, just be be aware that I have so and so with me. You know.
Oh, why?
So well, you know, he usually give you priority. For
Oh,
landing.
wow, okay.
That's
oh,
it.
That's
Just to give you priority for landing.
Okay.
Because you know this is he should be aware of that to give you
Oh.
priority for landing. Sometimes I give it to him in Arabic, sometimes in English, but not
Okay.
more than that. You know, but communication about your altitude, about your speed, about your location must be in English.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Captain. Do we have any more questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, last question. From your experience, Captain, what's the best time to travel?
Sorry.
The best
What's
time
the
of
best
year?
time to travel?
Oh.
Best
From
time
your
of day?
experience about.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Actually, the best time, you know, first of all, thank you for the question. I wanted to know my, you know, the audience and also our dear viewers, you know, the least people have sleep are pilots.
Okay.
You know, imagine if you have a flight, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it is very pleasant time, of course. You have to be, by the way, you have to report on the airplane 2 hours before that. You know, you have to be 3
Oh,
o'clock.
okay. Right.
Well, if it's 3 o'clock, then what time you slept? What time?
Yeah, right.
You know, especially if you have long range flight, you have, you know, many sectors. You're going to A, B, C, D.
Yeah,
But
right.
you know, pilots are used to it. Their system, you
You
know,
get used
become
to it.
their, you know, their, you know, I would say their hour.
Yeah,
Get
right.
used to it.
Yeah,
you know.
right. Yeah.
So actually, for me, I'm talking. Maybe other pilots have different. Myself, I love flying. You know, just before dawn.
Just before dawn.
Absolutely,
Just
just
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes,
You
final
know,
law.
you just wake up, you know, you had a 3 hours sleep, you know, 4 hours sleep. But, you know, if you fly in the middle of the night, you know, it's still enjoying, but you don't enjoy like, you know,
Yeah.
and to me, myself, is, you know, just after dawn.
Excellent. Captain Hamoud, thank you for being with us. And we're going to keep you for a couple more episodes. I want to continue with this topic. Thank you for
Sure,
staying with
it's
us.
my
Captain.
pleasure.
Thank you so much, Captain.
Thank you.
And you guys in the studio audience, thank you guys for sticking with us. Inshallah, we want to invite you back for part 3 of our program with Captain Hamoud. And you guys at home, thank you so much for staying with us. Join us next week, inshallah, for part 3 of a trip with the pilot on the ground with Captain Hamoud. And also, let me remind you of the email again. I haven't received any email, so please email us at talk@huda.tv and give us some feedback. So until next time, we leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk